Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman, and in this week's episode, I'm talking with Julie Wilson, who talks about her healing journey and her psychic abilities that have been deeply influenced by her no sugar and no flour diet. It's fascinating to hear how Julie's energy work is affected by her diet. We'll get to our chat in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources about how to get rid of cravings, then I have plenty for you. First, download my 5 tips to get rid of cravings. And those 5 tips may not be what you think they are. So go to aftersugarclub.com and download your 5 tips today. And come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at MyLifeAfterSugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life, even if you don't eat sugar. You can also check out my TikTok account at Netta_lifeaftersugar. All right, here's my chat with Julie. All right, so today I'm talking with Julie Wilson. Lovely to see you, Julie. Can you tell us a bit about your journey with food and especially sugar?
Yes, thank you so much for having me today. So I've been on a healing journey for several years. And when I was younger, I kind of ate whatever I wanted. I didn't have to worry about gaining weight. I was just I worked out a little bit. I just didn't really pay attention to what was good for you or not. And in 2009, I had a car accident and it had a pretty significant issue with my neck. It wasn't anything permanent or needed surgery, but I wasn't able to work out like I used to. And so I noticed I started to put on some weight. I started to have, all the things I could eat that were just fine and dandy weren't so fine anymore. And so it kind of opened me up to finding holistic routes to try and work on the issues with my body, to work on my food, to work on how I was my lifestyle pretty much. And so I had some fertility issues coming up. I had all kinds of physical issues after this car accident that started to also hit. And so it was like this process to try and find a more holistic route to find healing modalities and things along the way that might help my body heal my body. And so food was a big part of it that I didn't realize at the time. So I had put all these toxins, all of this carbs, all of these things that my body didn't really like into myself. And so as I went along, I learned a lot of energy work. So, I learned how to do the Akashic records. I learned how to do healing work. And I was really excited about that connection to my higher self and my intuitive flow, all of the things that kind of come with working with that kind of energy. And so I really learned how to heal my body, but the food piece I hadn't really addressed. And so further along in my healing journey, I went to a nutritionist. I spent 3 months, doing a pretty intense, hormone recalibration, detox protocol with supplements and a lot of parasite cleanse type things. And what I realized was all my period pain went away. There were so many things that happened. I started feeling better. I mean, by the time I went to the nutritionist at 2:00 every day, I needed a nap, you know what I mean? Or I needed more coffee. So it was just like this, it wasn't conducive to life. I was either drinking tons of caffeine or I was tired all the time. And so I really focused on the food after that. And it's not that I'm super strict and I'm like anti sugar. Sometimes I eat sugar, sometimes I eat carbs, whatever, but like I feel so much better when I am eating clean. So veggies, fruits, lean meats, and not huge quantities at a time. Even like protein drinks, like lots of protein comes in the mix. So I feel like I'd still get sluggish and tired if I'm not doing enough protein. So I'll have a little protein drink or something like that. But especially with my work, my healing work, because I help others with their healing journeys now, if I'm not eating well, I can be emotional, I can be tired. My channel to my higher self and to, understanding these people and connecting in with their energy is sometimes clouded or not as clear. It takes longer to get messages to come through. It's just, I really, really notice how food plays a big role, especially for me, and how my body is just made up with carbs and sugars. It's just, it's amazing when you take the stuff away and you feel so great, and then you put it back and you're like, oh my gosh, this is why I don't eat this stuff.
Yeah, it's a good reminder. But we don't get the chance to have that comparison because we're always putting in the sugar. Like who was it, if anyone, that put it to you that maybe it would be a good idea to bring down your consumption of sugary foods?
So my mother went on this amazing journey of getting rid of sugar out of her life first. She had shingles. She worked a lot. She was 200 pounds. She didn't feel good. She was a binge eater. Like she would go buy 6 candy bars, but not tell anybody, you know what I mean? And just eat them. And so she ended up one day, she was like, I can't do this anymore. She had a car accident where she broke both of her legs. So she had massive foot pain. She was crying every night just from the, all of she has pins in her legs and just, some of the inflammation and the things that were happening because of those foods. And so she went on this, there was no sugar, no flour. I forget what it's called. It's a specific kind of program for addiction, like sugar addiction.
Mhm.
I watched her life transform. I watched her become this like super happy, joyous person she would just call me and say, I'm just so happy today. And it was almost like cheesy. It was almost like one of those things you would be like, are you like, what is going on? And she, I don't mean to sound like this isn't real, but she's like, my life is just changing. And I thought, well, if you just giving up sugar and flour did this for you, let me give it a little bit of a try, because I have never seen someone like transition that fast. And there were times that she kind of fell off the wagon, and once she falls off the wagon, she just like goes hard for the sugar. So she's like, it's all or nothing with her. For me, I'll still have the occasional whatever and just get some extra electrolytes, magnesium, and work out. And if I work out right after I eat that stuff, I can balance it now, I've realized. So, I found my own balance. I'm not as strict as she is, but for her, it's important for her to be strict. But I was blown away. She's my inspiration. She's why I wanted to come on today and talk, because it's like to see somebody go from, miserable, crying every night, like trying to just function and having so much physical pain to, she's 68, she's still working, she bebops around town. I mean, it's just, it's really a beautiful thing to see.
Amazing, amazing, and amazing that it's your mom that's your inspiration, and that kind of showed you by example what cutting sugar and flour can do, and not someone who's in the medical field or the nutrition field, because nobody like that told you about sugar or flour and the effect that they could have on you.
So I think people told me, but again, I feel like it's, if you don't see it sometimes, because even when I did my nutrition, my 3 months of that nutrition protocol, I was weighing my food, I was pretty strict. I still don't feel like I really understood. I was kind of just doing it because I have to do this for this period of time. And then I can go and do what I want again. I wasn't, thinking about, okay, how much is this really shifting me? Once I started really getting some of the toxins out of me and I started feeling better, I think I realized it. But her journey, like watching her journey, was probably the biggest catalyst for me to say, okay, so there's things like cancer, there's things that, like, what I mean, there's all kinds of medical issues and things that could come up as I'm getting older as well, if I'm not at least trying to do everything I can to make my vessel really optimal.
Yeah. Yeah. So, did you find it difficult to make that kind of a switch in your diet?
At first I did, but now, I mean, there's things like keto chips. I've found, and I use the Yuka app because a lot of the so-called health foods are like worse for us than if you were just going to eat the the real stuff. So I go with that, and I scan foods, I see what's healthy, and I mean there are lots of options where you don't have to actually give up everything and feel like you're not having a tortilla wrap or a chip or a something. You know what I mean? So I feel like I've found my little path. And honestly, it's strange when you quit eating that stuff and you take a bite of sugar and you're like, this is so sweet. It's like sickening. You just everything changes. Like I crave the fruits and veggies now, where it's like you say that and people are like, whatever. But it's true, cottage cheese, fruits and veggies, like some protein is usually my lunch every day. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, isn't it, how your taste buds change and what you want to eat changes. And it's not even necessarily a craving anymore, because I think the actual concept of craving belongs to the processed foods industry, and that when we are looking forward to eating good food, delicious good food, I I don't know if I can call that a craving. I don't know. Maybe I'm just, splitting hairs.
I feel like it's you get more in tune with what does your body really want. So instead of it being a negative craving, it's a okay, my body really wants this today, rather than, the junk food industry cravings. I do know that anytime I eat that stuff, I watch myself because 2 or 3 days, it's like, man, all of a sudden you want all that junk food again once you eat it. And so and you can really tell. I know that during like full moons, the parasites really act up too. So if you're not doing cleanses and stuff like that, you can notice that all of a sudden, why do I want to eat all of this stuff? Well, like look outside, is the moon full? I don't know why it is that is their little trigger, but it's just it's interesting to watch yourself,
Yeah.
after you've gone on this little journey, and then you're like, okay, I don't even want to eat it today because I don't want to feel like crap, and I don't want to have the 3 days where I have to get back on track.
Yes, yes, totally. And I'm fascinated with your energy work and like your psychic abilities and what you were saying about like the channel. Did I understand right that the channel feels clearer when you're not eating the sugar in the flour?
Absolutely. Yes. So I'm a psychic medium and an energy healer. So when I work with people, I tap into, their higher self. I get messages from their Akashic records, which is like the book of your whole life. Um, any kind of density that might be in their body to help move it, shift it out, trapped emotions, all kinds of things come into me, and I see them or I hear them or I feel them. And when I eat junk, I am like, it's almost like when you have like that head fog or you have kind of a headache. It's almost like a dull headache when you're trying to connect, and you can't, it just feels super foggy. It feels like somebody has fog over your eyes, rather than it being a super clear, image of everything or a super clear message. Sometimes I'll even have to like reset. I call it my baseline. I like to make sure none of my emotions or anything is in the way of when I'm receiving messages. So I make sure I have a really strong baseline, but sometimes I'll have to go 2 or 3 times and make sure I check back in. Okay, is my baseline good? And then, I'll know that the messages are good and accurate, but it's more difficult. It's just, it's a very big, it just takes more energy. It takes more time. It's just a really different feel when I'm, eating well. I can boom, pop in, messages come, I got it. It's like I can message someone back, or I can, go do the work in a session very quickly. So it's been one of the main things why I'm really strict about what I put in my body now, because it's affecting my business and how I show up for people.
I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews. just like this 5-star review that says, always spot on. I've been listening to Netta for a while now, and I love that there is something in every episode where she seems to be talking directly to me. Every episode I find some pearl of wisdom or validation that I need to hear. My journey to give up sugar is slow, and I'm so thankful to be able to pop on Netta's voice whenever I need to be encouraged to carry on. And that's from Joanie. Thank you, Joanie. And when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar. Yeah, amazing. And do you think you're, in the same way as your mum was an inspiration for you, do you think that you are an inspiration for the people that you help? I mean, are they even aware of how you eat, or is that something that you share with them?
So I wrote a womb healing workbook called Portal to Heaven, Opening Up Your Magic with Womb Healing. It's on Amazon. And I did discuss in that book the food, the detox, and a little bit of my journey with that. But I don't talk about it a lot. That's really the only piece. A lot of times when I do collective messages for, everyone, like what's coming through for the month, I'll usually do energy updates. Detox comes up a lot with that. So a lot of times I talk about detoxing your body. But no, people don't really know this part of my journey. So I'm excited to share it.
Yes. I don't know. I don't know much about energy work and psychic abilities and things like that, but it feels to me like when we take care of ourselves, including what we eat, what we put in our bodies, then it has a ripple effect on the rest of our life.
It absolutely does. I feel like our relationships, our ability to have compassion for others when they can't. I know my husband struggles with weight, and he has the sugar sweet tooth too. So a lot of times he'll go get, stuff, and I'm just like, you said yesterday, I'm gonna try to do better, because he doesn't sleep well at night. And so I think though I can have more compassion for where everybody is and how hard it is, for certain people at certain times. It's also hard, it's heartbreaking though, because you're like, I just want to help, in any way I can, the people around me especially. But he's 50 pounds down, so he's kind of, I think my mom watching me, it does ripple. Like you see people around you doing this and feeling better, and it's like you kind of step up, I feel like.
Yes, totally. And they say that actions speak louder than words, and you see people, and it's not a question of, telling people you should be eating this and you shouldn't be eating that. They see how you are, and that is more powerful than anything else.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people, me including, sometimes when someone says you should be doing this, it's like that nagging mom remembrance. And you're like, I'm going to do the opposite because you can't make me. You know what I mean? So you do this little.
Yeah, I mean, yes, with my program participants, we call that our inner toddler.
There you go. Love that. Yes.
And I tell you, the inner toddler in all of us is alive and kicking.
Oh, yeah.
And so, can you give me an example, give us all an example of what a channel is, like what comes out of this channel of energy that is so much clearer when you're not eating the sugar and the flour?
So I connect into the higher dimensional planes. It's kind of just like projecting your consciousness up through your crown chakra. So if you were just sitting in meditation, you just kind of go up and imagine, a higher frequency, higher realm. And so, past lives can come in. I work with timelines. Timelines can come in. So it's a lot of visuals. It's a lot of maybe hearing messages, seeing things, seeing where blocks are in people from childhood, from situations. So I can see the situation that happened, and that's what's blocking them from, whatever they're trying to overcome. And so when I'm clear, it's like the messages come in. I'll have a page of notes before the session, and I'll be ready to go, because I always like to go in ahead and have a, kind of a framework. And then if they bring me information that they want to work on and we never get to my notes, it's okay. But usually we bounce back and forth, and it's a beautiful little flow. And so sometimes it'll take me like an hour or two in the past, before I kind of started eating this way, to even get the notes to come through, you know what I mean, before the session. And now it's just like, usually I'll 5 minutes, boom, pop out the notes, go into the session, do a little meditation to prep myself, and everything that needs to, come through comes through. So it's definitely a different feeling. And I feel like more in integrity and more balanced and more clear. And, it just makes for more confidence, more a better experience, a closer relationship, I feel like, to my people, just because you're getting deeper into the information stream. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And I find that with the people that I help, there comes a time where they reduce, if they're ready to reduce sugar and usually flour as well, and basically processed foods, right? And there comes a time where not necessarily at zero, it's way before zero, but their whole kind of outlook on life suddenly tips, and reframes, and they start seeing things differently and getting these insights and awareness. And it's like a fog lifting, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it's almost, I would say, you can almost time it to a T, for my program at least, where you're like, yeah, in week 3 is where it happens.
Yeah. I love that you're helping people with this too, because I feel like it's not an easy process and you really need support. So, the fact that you're helping people, kind of come back to themselves, because like you said, you can see that intuitive flow come back online, or you can see that reconnection to their self, or to a more of a joy. Like with my mom, it was just like this, she found her joy. She's just happy no matter what she does now. I mean, she has her moments, she gets mad, like nobody's like, you know, super happy every minute of every day, but it was like a complete switch got flipped, and she was just this completely different person. She even, like, there were things she even apologized for from my childhood, or things that she would just bring up out of the blue that like she was remembering, she wanted to like heal and work on. And I was just like blown away at, all of the things that happened because she just gave these certain foods up and went to other healthier choices.
Amazing. It is. It's amazing. And it's a sort of thing you wouldn't, well, I certainly wouldn't have expected as a side effect.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. It's interesting to watch.
Yeah, totally, totally. And if you were to give someone advice um, to do with cutting sugar and flour, where can someone begin doing that? It seems like a huge mountain.
Yeah, I'd say for me, I feel like the best advice is to just focus on every now moment and make a better choice in the now moment. And if you mess up, don't beat yourself up, because a lot of times we beat ourselves up and we pull ourselves down into this gutter where we could have just been like, okay, I ate the donut, I'm gonna go do some exercise, and we're gonna do, I'm gonna get back on track for dinner. So I feel like, just staying present is something that's really hard too. I feel like for a lot of us, you have tons of things going on, but that's the main thing. Like I don't think too far ahead. I'm like, I'm gonna have this stuff for lunch, I'm gonna have this stuff for dinner, and then every once in a while, if I get into something, I realize my, like, why am I doing this? And I'll think about it, and it's old patterns and habits. So if you can also think about, what are you really eating it because you want it, or are you eating it because at some point it gave you some kind of satisfaction to not think about something, or to, quell some anxiety? Because a lot of us, I feel like, are just anxiety eaters. We have stress, we're not grounded, you know what I mean? We have all this energy bouncing off of us with solar activity and solar storms and stuff like that. We may not know what any of that is, or how to, balance that and manage it. And so sometimes food grounds us, and so sometimes we're going to it and we don't even really want it if we actually understood why we're going to it. So that would probably be my biggest advice.
Totally, totally. And very often I speak for myself, but also for the people that I help. We often use food to numb discomfort, right? Uncomfortable emotions or uncomfortable thoughts. It's just like, I don't want to deal with all that stuff. And I think you and I are both in the work of dealing with stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a comfort, just they call it comfort food for a reason. It's like, you go to the comforts when you don't want to look at those scary thoughts or emotions or feelings, or sad things, or, and any of the numbing piece, anything that would lead you to a numbing feeling. So it's something I see with a lot of people too. A lot of people really struggle with trying to numb in some way, shape, or form, with my clients. And so, yeah, I feel like it's this another thing where the self-care, working with your nervous system, like some somatic exercise or yoga or movement, because a lot of times if we can move, we can also work through that stuff that we may feel like is too hard to actually face or look at.
Yeah.
Just get your being, ask your body, ask your higher self, how do I process this? Because I'm struggling. And you will find the way to do it,
Yeah, very wise indeed. Thank you. I know your mum was an inspiration for you, but you're an inspiration for me, that's for sure.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to hear that.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing this, for me, unexpected benefit of cutting sugar and flour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, I would never have imagined that cutting sugar and flour would actually affect, like, the psychic side of some people, including Julie. I think it's amazing the ripple effect of changing your diet from junk foods that include sugar and flour to whole foods that can ground you and quieten your anxiety. It's amazing. And if Julie's story inspires you as well, but you're wondering how to actually implement the steps that you need to take to experience deep and lasting freedom from cravings and from the hold that sugar has on you, then I can help. In fact, we can work together in 2 ways. First, in the After Sugar Club, which is designed to give you support and accountability through our live check-in calls at a more affordable price. The After Sugar Club is always open for you. Check out the After Sugar Club private membership when you go to aftersugarclub.com, click on After Sugar Club in the top menu. And for more step-by-step guidance and customized support to help you get rid of cravings so that you can slim down and finally feel in control around food, there's my 90-day program, Freedom from Cravings Formula, which opens a few times a year. To get more info about the program and when it next opens, go to aftersugarclub.com and click on the big green button to schedule a clarity call with me so that we can talk together to see if the Freedom from Cravings Formula program is a good fit for you. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.